Hi y'all, happy 2026. We made it, new year. Uh, it's exciting. First year where I'm back on my own. It's an interesting change, new experiences. I feel more free, I have more time, a little more capacity to think about what projects I'm going to consider. But now we can go back in time on how I started on this path. Started back in college a couple years ago, 11 years now. I went in thinking I'd do engineering, and then first years I didn't like the classes. I didn't enjoy physics or calculus as much, especially the advanced ones. It just wasn't as fun for me. And then I thought of doing law, so I actually worked at a law firm for a couple of years on and off down in Texas. And then I think the lifestyle would have been much for me. It's just the hours and the type of work. I think I didn't realize it, but since being very young, I was more um, interested in the arts. But at Dartmouth, I tried a bunch of new things. I took engineering, I did design thinking, I took some architecture, took classical mythology, Roman history. And that's the advantage of like a liberal arts education. You have that ability to do a bunch of different courses and still graduate on time. So I graduated in 4 years, even though I took classes that were super unrelated to my major, economics. Um, yeah, and starting off in jewelry, I never thought it would become my full-time career. It's just not something that really is encouraged, really. Um, Especially up at Dartmouth, it's almost looked down upon simply because of, you have way more safer choices in terms of careers such as finance or consulting or law school, medical school. So very traditional in that sense, very New England, and very American. Just now that I've been out in the workforce and I've met more European slash international people, I see that the arts are more appreciated and more seen as a actual career path compared to my experience in the education system here. Yeah, so when I would talk to, this was later in my time at school, anyone I would share to, especially the academic advisors, that I was interested in jewelry. It was like stay away, very much looked down upon, like focus back on school. So I never got to explore languages or other stuff that I felt more inclined to study because, again, the security and, you don't really have that encouragement. It's funny that came a lot from my mom, actually. Like, I would share with her like what I was doing and my work, and she's always been a big fan. So it's helped to have a family that encourages, pursuing your interests in a way. And it's, I've had to financially support myself, etc. But just having that emotional support is very helpful. I don't think people realize that. And yeah, I mean, I get why people would say no, don't do it. It's definitely not a straightforward path. You can choose many more careers that are filled with, a lot more security and less uncertainty. But, for me, I just knew I didn't really want to do anything else other than jewelry. So right after school, I said, I have to do this. And then that's what I did. So I actually, once I graduated in 2019, I stayed an extra year working at Dartmouth in a fellowship, an arts fellowship. It gave me like $5,000, and I just kind of used that to buy materials and gave me a reason to stay on campus and use the resources there for a bit longer. Yeah, but then once 2020 hit, I went back to Houston for a bit, for a couple, I think for like around 11 months. And then after I knew I had to move to New York. And that's when I moved to New York, and kind of a different path started in terms of jewelry. That's when I started working at Tiffany's in 2022. So things just kind of started moving very quick. And yeah, so, definitely not a linear path for me. I see why people, say like stay in a traditional career simply because you have less risk, and I think for me, I've always been more of a risk taker. I'm more okay with it, knowing that it all works out at the end. It's totally fine if, things don't work out the way you want them to work out. You just kind of keep going in that sense. So to be an artist, you kind of have to be okay with that. Um, and then, whenever you're young, especially, I think that's a time where you can take more risks and be less scared about what if you don't do well, what if you fail. The worst that can happen is you just restart again, and then even then it's like you just pick yourself back up and keep going, and either you keep going on that track or you switch to something else. But you can't let the risk of failure stop you. What I emphasize is how rewarding my career has been in terms of the experiences, the people I've met, the things I've learned. Would I change a single thing? Probably not. Probably realizing earlier on that it's something that I could have made a living with, so that I could have put more energy into that and less stressing about, trying to figure out my life, and instead just gone with my interests. And I think I would have landed on a similar career as I have now earlier on, and maybe moved a little bit faster. But things take their time, so you can't, the butterfly effect, right? If you change one thing, then you change everything. So I wouldn't change anything per se.